Good morning.
Susie, I have a question about omegas.
Uh-huh.
My last batch, a lot of it was stuck together. Does
If
that
you
happen?
have,
Does
yeah,
that
if
happen to
you have
anybody?
that has happened to a few people. And if that happens to you, just call the company on the bottom of the bottle, take down the lot number and everything, call the 1-800 number and tell them that your omegas are all stuck together, and they will just send you out a free bottle.
Oh, okay.
Okay, they want you, they're trying to figure that. I don't know why that's happening, but occasionally that'll happen, and they don't want you to feel like you have to pull them apart or anything. So.
But it's okay to go ahead and take it if you do pull them
Yeah, you
apart.
can, but
Yeah.
when they're stuck together, that's
Yeah,
a
it's messy.
big clump
Okay.
in your throat. So yeah, I would be careful with that. So, but do call, just have them send you a new bottle, Ruth.
Okay, thanks.
And if you weren't able to be part of Debbie Walton's talk, I did send it over Voxer. I'll go ahead and post it again. And it was moving for people. And so if I would even think, would it be fun to kind of have a little, let's see who can get the most Omega orders, maybe between now and the end of February, because it's a great way. I'm going to do a post probably tomorrow, maybe tonight. I'll do it tonight so you can see it, of just a few of the things that are in there. 90% of the people are deficient in omegas, and she talks about how your brain starts to shrink after that, and oh my gosh, all these things that are important. So I encourage you. I don't know, is that fun to you guys? Do you want a little
Yes.
tracking of competition of, let's see, because even customers you already have, you could encourage them to watch that and see if they want omegas. I think it'd be hard to watch the whole thing. And also she talks about the studies and the synergy of action when they add the trio with that. I mean, it's phenomenally more powerful in your body. So they can learn so much. So let me work on that, and I'll put that out. But you're welcome to tweak and copy paste my post or make up your own from it or whatever. We do not share the link on our Facebook page, but you can have it where, you'll share it to other people. And then even if you put it on your page, so many people are shy and they don't want to cause attention to themselves. It's still something in everyday conversation. And when you're following up with your customers, reach out to people individually. You can say almost the same thing you put on your page and just let them know, wow, I listened to the talk if you haven't, and then let them know, hey, I was listening to this talk and I just feel like on fire that I gotta let everybody who's interested listen to this talk. It's that important for our health. So definitely let's go there. But we're going to move on to what we're talking about today. I'm going to show you a few short video clips, and then we can talk about some things, because they say the majority of people by now, and especially by mid-February, will have already left their goals, their resolutions, whatever you want to make for the new year of saying. And so I had a few things that popped up today, and I'm going to turn it towards our business. One, there is an Eric Worre video that I'm going to show you, and he's being interviewed by, oh my gosh, why am I drawing a blank? Larry King. And the title is Larry King Grills Eric Worre on network marketing. So I encourage you to go back. I'll post this in Team Ignite Facebook and listen to the whole thing. One thing you learn in there is he talks about the very first company that Eric Worre started with. Does anybody know what it is? When he was doing so well in network marketing and going all over the world? In 1988, he was selling water filters for NSA, which became Juice Plus. Isn't that interesting? And he gives a plug. He never says the word Juice Plus, but he talks about how the company is transformed and how powerful it is, and it's all over the world, and what a strong company it is. So I thought that was cool. It's a 1988 video. And then the other cool thing is, you guys, we're still having phenomenal growth ever since COVID hit. So for 10 months, we have had phenomenal growth. So this is a wonderful time to be in Juice Plus. But I know some of us get in and then we're like, oh, I want to do more. I want to make an impact. I want to share more. And then it doesn't happen. And So I'm going to play a little bit about what Eric Worre says, and then we're going to move on to another way of what can we do to change that mindset? Why do we do that to ourselves? So first, I'm going to share my screen and share just a minute of Eric Worre. Everybody can see that, right? Okay.
Yeah. What do most newbies get wrong when they're trying to build a business? What's the biggest mistake people make?
They set unrealistic expectations. They'll give it 3 years in a traditional business.
But they don't have a boss in network.
I understand, but they'll invest 65 grand on average in the United States to start a traditional business. They'll expect it's going to take 3 years to get payback in that traditional business. And in network marketing, if they're not getting results in 30 days, they're like suicidal. You got to give it some time. You got to develop some skills. You got to learn some stuff here and not expect this to be magic beans you drop into the ground and it's going to grow up into heaven. It's going to take some work. Most people get involved, they expect something for nothing, or at least expect to do less work and get more results. Here's what it's going to give you. This profession is going to pay you fairly for what you put into it, but it won't limit how much you can put into it and how much you can get out of it. That's the best case scenario for an entrepreneur.
Yeah, it's limitless.
It is. It's as much as your imagination. And I will tell everybody all the time, I've been thinking small for 30 years. I get around these, people like yourself, people like Harvey McKay, people like Lou Holtz and Richard Branson and Tony Robbins and all these different people, my friends. I realize how small I'm thinking. I'm thinking really, really small. If I thought bigger, man, we could go bigger. And that's what most entrepreneurs inside of this profession need to realize. If they think bigger, the sky's the limit.
How do you find a company that's best for you to represent?
I always forget to stop it. Okay, you guys see me? Shoot, I don't see you.
Yeah, we can see you.
The wrong button. You guys see me, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see you.
Anyway, listen to that whole interview. I think it's very interesting. But I think it also helps us wrap our mind around when we get somebody signed up. Sometimes you feel like that, especially if they don't get to their Partner Plus in the first days. It's like, oh my gosh, I can't do this, or I'm not doing well or something. It's not a big deal, but people have to practice the skills. There's definitely skills, and we have systems, and we can plug people in. It's just about, are we going to do that? And are we going to do it consistently and be persistent, even if we get no's? And one thing that he talks about in there too is that it's so important, the difference between us. It's kind of interesting, sometimes people kind of poo-poo multi-level marketing, direct sales, like it's less than. Yet if you're selling jewelry at a jewelry store or something, suddenly that is better, or whatever you're going to sell. But he says the advantage that we have over traditional sales is that in the new profession of network marketing, he said the old network marketing would be like hunting people down. I'm going to get that one. I'm going to get that one. I'm going to get that one. He says that's not what it's about anymore. Now it's about these long-term relationship selling that we're getting in there. We connect with people, we build rapport, we build a little trust, and then we get permission. We have that entry point to educate them about what we have. So he just really talks about, make sure you're being professional that way and not just throwing up on people. Throwing up on people was the old way. The other thing is using social media to draw people towards you, not just like, here's my product, here's my link, you got to buy this, this is the best thing. But he says you're using it to draw people towards you, you're using it to build trust. And they talk about in that interview too, like, why is it so hard to be authentic? Why is it hard to be transparent? But that's what draws people to you. So move away from hunting people down and move into, what did I write down? Oh, just thinking about, I want to have a long-term relationship with this person. And that's why we take care of our customers too. So that just made me feel good about my profession. I hope that makes you feel good too. The whole interview, I think you'll see Larry King can't grill him, as it says on the title, because Eric is so positive. You could just see part of that, of what this industry, when you're hooked, he says you have to be with a company that matches your integrity. And, you know, then you're in a good spot. You love the product. You have a company that's lasting and stable and has integrity. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's us. So I thought it was a really cool interview, even though it was a couple of years ago. But then this is really funny because there's a pastor, Craig Rochelle. Sometimes he comes to my church and preaches. And so sometimes I follow his. And then I was in another group doing something with Jackie Grace. And I wanted to share parts of this today. And then she shared it in a group. So it must be meant to be shared. It was really hard to think which little part will I put in here so that, you know, I'm not going to play an hour video. But I also encourage you to go back and listen to Pastor Craig Rochelle. And, you know, there's so many good pastors out there now that they really do work around this whole idea of mindset. And what does the Bible say? I mean, talk about the authority on our mindset. It's very fascinating to me. And that's what we're always trying to do is change our mindset so that we can meet our potential, you know, that we are not just here to wake up and go through the motions and just live for ourselves. You know, what are we giving back to the world? You know, what are we meant to do? So I'm going to play a little snippet of this. You're going to probably want a piece of paper out. I took several notes when I watched it yesterday. And anyway, I just wanted to share it. I'm not going to say anything else about it. So here we go. And I'll do a disclaimer. I know everybody has different walks of faith, but great information is great information. So I just open your heart. If that's not your thing, just open your heart, because he has good information for you right here.
Reproduce, conquer, go out and kill something, bring it home, eat it, build something significant. If you're going to be on this earth, do something with this earth. In the New Testament, in Matthew 25, Jesus told a story, a parable about an owner, a manager who gave 3 different guys some talents. 2 of these guys went out to compete. They went out to win. They played to win. They invested what they had. They multiplied. They doubled their investment. And the master came back and said, "Well done. You won. Good job, my good and faithful servant." One guy was afraid to play. He didn't even show up. He kept what he had. He didn't invest it at all. And the master looked at him and didn't just call him lazy, but he called him, "You wicked and lazy servant." To paraphrase what the master said, essentially, take it away from the guy who lost and give his to the ones who won. Give it to those who came to play. Jesus, the very last thing he said before ascending into heaven, he looked at his disciples and he said, "Go into all the world and preach the gospel. Make disciples, baptize people in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit." He didn't say to my disciples, "Sleep in late, be mediocre, waste your life looking at social media, show up for the participation trophy." No, in everything we do as followers of Christ, we do it as unto the Lord. Don't rationalize away the thrill of bringing your best for God. The Apostle Paul says, if you're going to run to win. Question: why aren't we winning? Why aren't we making progress? Why aren't we achieving the goals that we want to achieve? Why aren't we changing the things that we want to change in our lives? The answer is, and I believe these truths can change your life, why have we not been changing? The answer is, you've been trying for too long. You've been trying for way too long. I want you to think about it. In the most important areas in life, most Christians have adopted a theology of trying. What are you doing? I'm trying to serve God. I'm trying to be a good Christian. I'm trying to go to church every day. I'm trying to read my Bible. Okay? I'm trying to stop smoking. I'm trying to stop cussing. Don't said it again. I'm trying to be nice to my children. I'm trying to be more loving. I'm trying not to worry so much. I'm trying not to eat the whole thing. I'm trying to exercise. I'm trying. I mean, I really am. I'm trying. I'm doing the best I can. I'm trying the best I can. I'm trying not to look anymore. I'm trying so hard not to think lustful thoughts. I'm trying so hard not to lose my temper. I'm trying so hard not to be mean. I'm trying so hard to spend more time with my kids. I'm trying not to be in debt. I'm trying. Why are you not changing? Because you've been trying for too long. That's why I came to tell somebody to change your strategy. You need to stop trying and start training. It's time to stop trying and start training. Why? Because trying never achieves consistent results. Training does. Trying never changes anything for long. Training is an entirely different mindset and perspective. Let's talk about the difference for just a moment. What do you do when you're trying? What is trying? Trying is an attempt to change with minimal commitment. It's often a half-hearted attempt. What are you doing? Well, I'm trying to start being more godly. I'm trying to read my Bible. I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying not to be so lazy. I'm trying to get into better shape. But when you're trying, it almost implies that you plan to fail. There's no real commitment. It's just a try. It's just a hope. It's just a wish. I'm going to bring a little bit to this thing, not too much. I'm trying, but I'm not getting anywhere. It's often a half-hearted attempt, an attempt to change with a minimal commitment. But what is training? Training is very different. Training is a wholehearted commitment to achieve a specific result. And you know the difference between trying and training. If you're trying, you just show up hoping for a better result. I hope this works out. I'm trying. I mean, I'm trying to do it. But when you're training, you got a game plan. You got a strategy. You got some fight in you. You got the eye of the tiger. You got some Rocky 1 and Rocky 2 and Rocky 3 and Rocky 4. Baby, you got some Cobra Kai season 3 inside of you. You're coming to play. You're running to win. You're not just trying, you're in training. There's intentionality behind it. There's focus. There's a defined vision. There's a purpose. When you're trying, you give up when it gets too hard. I tried. When you're trying, you quit when you don't feel like it. But when you're training, you don't act according to your feelings. You act according to your commitment. There's a big difference. The Apostle Paul, he says it this way. He says that everyone who competes in the games, they go into strict training. He didn't say they're trying to get ready to compete. They go into strict training. In fact, the Greek word is a powerful word that's translated as training. It's the word agnizomehi. And we get our word agony from this, like it's hard work. This word means to contend for victory. It means to strain every nerve toward the goal. Trying is a half-hearted attempt. Training is to take every bit of power you have and even some power that you don't have that comes from heaven and strain every nerve toward the goal and the call for which God has created you. And when an athlete went to compete in the Olympic Games, They went into a 10-month strict training in Greece. It was an intentional, rigorous training regimen that included a very, very strict diet, no wine or alcohol. They would run a certain amount of time a day, no kind of junk food. They would expose themselves to extreme cold and extreme heat, and evidently there would also be some eating of sand along the way. Thankfully, in my training, to this day, I've never eaten sand, but they were into it. They weren't trying to compete. They were training to win, and there's a difference. So imagine this. Imagine this, a marathon, and you got a couple of runners who show up to the starting line, and maybe there's hundreds of people, and one person's ready, training, strict diet, no wine, extreme heat, extreme cold, months of preparation. And this guy looks at the guy sitting next to him and says, "What'd you do to train?" And before the gun goes off, the other guy looks over and goes, "Oh man, I didn't really get around to it. I mean, I was trying to get ready, but things were busy. Kids were, having challenges, and, my wife was kind of, blah, 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 And so I was trying to, but I didn't quite get around to it." Other guy looks at him and says, "You mean you're going to run a marathon and you didn't even train for it?" He goes, "Well, pretty excited to be here because I'm getting a free t-shirt." I'm going to try as hard as I can. Listen, when you're an athlete, a competitor, when you're fighting for something that matters, when you have a vision, when you have a dream, when you have a spiritual assignment from heaven, trying apart from training is unthinkable. When we run to win. We're not trying to honor God. We're in training to do what God created us to be. There's a big, big, big difference. I like what Scripture says in 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 7. Whenever Paul was talking to Timothy about becoming godly, here's what Paul didn't say. He said, "Timothy, I want you to try to be godly. Wake up and try your very best." What he said was, train yourself to be godly. Somebody here, you need to stop trying and start training. When people look at you, they'll see something different. What are you doing? I'm not trying. I'm in training. I've got a different mindset. I've got a game plan. This isn't a half-hearted commitment. This is a full-on, all-in, every nerve in my body toward the goal, empowered by the Spirit of God. I'm in training. So, what do we do? How do we train? What does it look like if we're in training to let God change us into who he wants us to become? What is training? Let's keep it really, really simple. We'll define it this way. Training is doing what I can do today to enable me to do even more tomorrow. That's training. It's that clear, it's that simple, and it's that powerful. What is training? It's very simply, it's consistently doing what I can do today to enable me to do even more tomorrow. What are you doing? You might be training for a marathon. Can you run a marathon today? Most of you would have to say, no way. Can you walk a mile today? You can. If you can walk a mile today, you're in training. You walk a mile and a half tomorrow. One day you're running 2 miles and then 3. What are you? You're in training. Can you get out of debt by next month? Most people say, no, you can't. But when you're in training, you can bring your own coffee instead of going to Starbucks. And guess what? That's $6 toward your goal when you're in training. Can you become a spiritual powerhouse by noon the next day? Probably not. But can you open up your YouVersion Bible app and read the Word of God every day, letting his living, active, powerful Word convict you, shape you, conform you, transform you to the image of Christ? You see, we're not trying, we're in training. We're doing what we can do today that will enable us to do what we can't do tomorrow that we want to do. We're training. God's giving us his power one step at a time. I'm doing what I can do. Tomorrow, I promise I'll do even more. And that's why I love the intentionality of what the Apostle Paul says in verse 26. He says, so I run with purpose in every step. This isn't accidental. It's not unintentional. There's actually a plan to this. I've got a strategy. I'm in training. When I wake up, I know what I'm called to do. I know what the plan is today. Even if I fall back or I'm set back, I still step back up and I'm back in training. A temporary loss doesn't mean permanent defeat. I'm coming back because I'm in training. I'm running with purpose in every step. I'm not just shadow boxing. I discipline my body like an athlete. Very important. Like an athlete, training it to do what it should. I want you to notice what he said. He said, I discipline my body like an athlete. Not like somebody who wants to be an athlete, not like somebody who's going to be an athlete in the future, but I discipline like an athlete. It's identity. And we talked about this last week. It starts with identity, not just what do you want to do, but who do you want to become? And when you know who God says you are, when you know who you are, you know what to do. Because I'm seeing myself as, here's an example, an athlete, I discipline my body. It starts with identity. You see, whenever you're trying, you're hoping to become something that you're not. But when you're training, you're becoming more of what you already are. Like an athlete, like a godly dad, like a godly mom, like a bright, shining light in my fraternity, like one who honors God with purity.
There's your tease. You have to go and watch the rest yourself. But I feel like he has so many awesome things. Do you ever feel like that? Like, I'm trying, I'm going through motions, but you feel like you're in the same spot. And to this just resonated with me, that training is different mindset. And when he said, when you're trying, what did he say? You're trying to become something that I'm not. That's just like a negative, right? But anyway, what was that helpful to you all? Is that an encouragement to you of how can you be more of who you're meant to become?
You know, I had someone tell me about, gosh, it was maybe like 20 years ago. I had said, hey, I'm trying to, do whatever it was. And he told me, when you say you're trying to do something, you're setting yourself up for failure. And so you just change your words around. And I, at the time, was reading The Secret, and it talks about, the law of attraction and everything. And I said, you know what, that completely makes sense. And so now, I'll catch myself saying, oh, I'm trying to do this. And I'm like, nope, I'm going to get this done to the best of my ability. When someone else says they're trying, I just think in my head, I'm like, should I say something to them? So yeah, it makes sense.
It's funny too, you brought up The Secret. I just watched that this weekend again. And because I'm just like processing all this mindset change and everything of, what are we doing to attract the goodness and change those things that are, I never thought about that. When I tell people I'm trying, I would have thought of that as a positive, but yeah. I get what he's saying here. So other feedback, would other people find that helpful? Or
In the words of Yoda, there is no try, there's only do.
Should remember that. That's so true.
I had a conversation with a client last night. Well, actually, I've worked with her years ago, and she always sends me texts every once in a while. I'm so frustrated. I can't get rid of this weight. It's usually how our conversations start. And I'm like, okay, this is our 6th time we've had this conversation. I'm pulling it, like I'm getting rid of the nice face. And so she goes, okay, I'll give that a try and I'll try that. And I'm like, hey, give it a try and do it. Because trying, I said that, setting you up for disappointment or failure. So you're not going to try it. You're going to decide and you're going to do it. So let's hope. But that's funny that you brought this up today, because I use that when someone says, okay, I'll try that. And I'm like,
yeah, there's no commitment. Now when I hear myself say that, it's like, well, I have no commitment in that. And I love that. Even I've been watching these yoga videos, or not watching them, I'm doing them every day. And she always has tips at the end. And I couldn't believe it. It's like today she went through, she says, well, let's talk about SMART goals. So you're doing this yoga every day. And she used SMART. She had a few different words in there. Now I wish I would have copied those down, but the same kind of thing, that you need a timeline. You need to be able to measure it. It has to be something, that we can really do, instead of just say, well, I'm going to try it. No, what are we going to really do? What's the focus? And I just love it. Other people have.
I love the way he compared it to someone that's training for the Olympics.
Mhm.
You don't just go into a marathon saying, well, I'm going to try this. Although I've known some people that have done that and it's not been to their benefit. But, those that are really training for a marathon, you're doing things that are going to set you up for success. But you don't just try a marathon, not with expecting any kind of success. So I like that in thinking about that when I'm working. I know that you played all this for in relation to our business. And so I need to keep that in mind. Like even with my own health goals, am I trying or am I in training? Because I used to be able to have no problem. I mean, people could sit down, everybody else at the table could be eating stuff that, some people couldn't say no to, and I didn't have a problem. I'd be like, no, I don't want that. But I had that training mode in my head, I guess, without even realizing it. And it's not been like that as much lately. So I need to flip that switch again. But I also need to get that mindset in my business, that am I just trying or am I really in training?
Cool. Well, all of this feels, go ahead. Did somebody else say? Was it you, Wanda?
yeah, it's the training part. I've never thought of using training. Imagine that. Even though we do it every day, but to actually use the word in a sentence, I think differently than instead of I'm going training tonight with my trainer, right? But to put it in different contexts, I think it will definitely help. And obviously with my Juice Plus business as well.
And I'm seeing it for all aspects of my life. I feel like I choose a word each year, and this year I kept thinking, what am I drawn to? What am I drawn to? I was drawn to a word I never even use. But when I looked up the definitions, I was like, oh my gosh, that's me. And the word revival. And I'm talking about a revival in my health, a revival in my strength and my conditioning, a revival in my business, my relationship, everything, because so much has been put on hold for me. And so it was so interesting to me to be given that word. And then like when he talked about the Greek word for training, to strain every nerve toward the goal, take all power I have and power from heaven and meet the call for which God has called me. And I just think, wow, that's powerful. That's way different than me saying, well, I'm going to try this week, or I use that word try. I'm getting out of here. I'm not going to use that word anymore. Especially for things I'm going to make a decision on, things that I've made a decision on. I'm like you, Jake, for my physical health, for my business, my spiritual health. I've made a lot of changes this year and it's gone really well for me, but I feel like I've been so, just like Christina was saying, if you watch The Secret, you talk about once you put it out there, I put that word revival out there and I'm thinking about it all the time. It's drawn me to like even hearing Craig Rochelle, he didn't preach in my church this week, but I happened to listen to, I'm just drawn to things that match where I'm going. So I think it's really powerful. But I'm sorry, I'm really excited today. You're like, would she just be quiet? Who else has thoughts on that?
Well, I loved it and shared it because the group that we're in is doing a fast, and so in considering, trying versus training, what he talked about was we can try in our own power to do a lot of things, but in regards to training, there has to be a game plan. We have to prepare meals. We have to have things in place. Just similar to our business, where as you're doing the personal growth, you have to have the DMO and all of that good stuff that we've already talked about. But I think what you're saying is, it's the mindset, it's the focus on training versus trying, just letting it happen. It's intentionality in regard to where you're headed, that gets you there. Like you talked about with the story from the Bible with the men and the talents, whereas one, he gave the same to each of them, but they each made different choices in how they went about using that. And so, yeah, I think it's great to focus on training. Like an athlete, he said, they have a game plan, they have a strategy, they come to play, they run to win. They have intentionality, purpose, and focus.
I agree with that.
Go ahead, Christine.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I agree with that. It's all about mindset and intentions, like setting your intentions, because, like through this whole COVID thing, I kind of found myself in a position where I was buying cheaper food, just to, because it's so hard right now for everybody. And so, you go to the store and it's like, okay, well, this is cheaper, but it's not, it's worse for your body. It's not as good for your body, because I like to buy organic. And so, I care about what's going into my body, my children's bodies, but it's so expensive. But I just I set my intentions, and I was like, you know what, even if I'm struggling at the end of the month, like, we're going to be healthy. Like there's no excuse. And so I set my intentions, and I was like, okay. And I went shopping, and I just stocked up on some groceries because I had a little extra money. And I was like, all right, I'm going to get back into the mindset of eating healthy, being healthy. And then you guys, and then Susie sent me this link to join, this, and it like got me started back on Juice Plus. I ended up ordering again, and because I hadn't ordered for months, and I'm like, I just couldn't afford it. But at the same time, I was just like, you know what, I have to, like, there's no excuse, because otherwise my children are going without the proper nutrition, and that's just not acceptable to me. And so it's like, I just I set my intentions, I set my goals. And so, yeah, it's like no longer was I in that mindset of trying to make it work. I'm just going to make it work. And so it's just kind of funny how I set my intentions. And then Susie sent me that message, and I'm like, okay, thank you, universe. Thank you. So that's exactly.
Christina and I never have any contact. We haven't for a long time. So.
Yeah. So I was just like, it was out of the blue. Well, and I've gotten so many just really weird text messages from all these different ads, and I have no idea. Like, I mean, some of them are like referring to me as if I'm a male, and they're like trying to sell me these like erectile stuff. And I'm like, what in the world? And so anyway, I almost dismissed it, but I was like, well, this is pretty lengthy. Like, maybe it's somebody I don't like, maybe it's somebody, and it was Susie. So yeah. And I was just, like I said, I had just set my intentions, and I was like, I'm not buying this crap food anymore. I'm not buying, any of this anymore. I'm just not going to do it. So You know,
Good
because
for
what
you.
happens, that stuff sits in my cupboards, it sits in my food or in my fridge, and it just goes to waste anyway. So no.
I love
Good
it.
for you.
Anyway, I had to share that.
Fantastic. I love it. Does anybody else have something that you feel like you can take from this morning and be able to institute into your daily life?
Well, I liked how he talked about, you know, in order to, and I guess I'm referring to just my own health and the business of, you have to have a plan, you have to have strategies, and then, you know, that I think kind of leads into a lot of your intentionality too, because you then have something each and every day that you try. Is it going to always be what you want it to be that day? No, but at least you have done the plan or the strategy, and then you can reflect on it and go, okay, this is what I'll try tomorrow that may make it better.
And that'd probably be even Rhonda as a trainer. People don't come to her and she'll just say, oh, you're here. Well, today I guess you can try this. She's got a plan. And I suppose you look at what their goals are, or you create goals with them. And I mean, it just goes with anything really that we're doing in life. So this is going to transition over to, let me tell you, I want to offer, Jackie, you're muted, hon.
I was just gonna say, his message from the week before, if you look him up, was on discipline and on trying on willpower and that kind of stuff. And so it's really good, and it plays into this message too. So if you're looking for something.
Yeah, and I'm actually going to use part of that. Plus, I'm going to use part of Lisa Nichols of just talking about how do we create those disciplines and how do we change those mindsets? Because, you know, we all come from different perspectives. You could be sitting here today, you know, Lisa Nichols had a time where, you know, she's super successful now, but she had a time where she was clinically depressed and they wanted her to go on meds and she didn't want to go on the meds. And so what did she do to get herself to be able to move to the next step? And then we can weave these in together, and then we'll transition. So that's next week's meeting. And then on February the 8th, so next week is February 1st, February 8th, I would like to start Catherine Newland Lee's goal setting workshop. And that will take us through February and March. And the reason I want to give you a little bit of time is you really will get so much more out of it if you print the sheets. It's a lot. It's like a book. So
If you can take it somewhere and have it printed, you're going to be better off.
yeah,
There are in color though, so
yeah, you
if
might
you-
want to print it in black and white.
Yeah,
if you want to
yeah.
save money, unless you like pretty paper. But you know, there's always, if that's just, I don't want anything to hold you back. I don't want you to say, oh, I'm not going to go because I didn't get that printed off. But that's why I'm giving you a little bit of extra time. So next week we're going to talk again. Okay, we're going to make these goals, but let's start working on our discipline, our mindset. We're going to work into that. And then we'll go into, and Catherine is just, she has a way of breaking things down so that it'll be small exercises to move forward on what you're doing. And part of that honestly frustrated me. I was like, no, I want all my goals. I want them written down now. I want them like that. But when we do that, our mind isn't ready to wrap around that. And then we fail. And so that's why I'm trying to take you on these little baby steps. And in the scheme of things, if it takes us till the end of March and we have really good goals and we've started doing exercises to change our mindset and we're creating discipline, we're going to have so much more success. It doesn't matter what we write down if we're really not committed to that in training. So be looking for that you can print that booklet, or if you just want to get a notepad and, you know, or your own notebook and write the exercises out in that, whatever works for you. But we do know there's science behind writing it down. And I'll be honest, I've preached this myself for so long. And for the last few years, I have not written down any goals. It used to be Ron and I would sit down and we'd split up all these life areas and we'd write all of our goals. And we kind of lost focus on that the last 3 or 4 years. So I'm excited to have these things written down. And she looks at all of your life areas and how to break that down. So this is something, this will be a gift for you. But what happens is when you have these goals and you have this intentionality and you know where you're going in your life, you're going to achieve so much more. And then as you do that, think about, how's that going to make you feel? How does that feel at the end of the day when you know you've done something good for yourself, you've done something good for somebody else? You're going to want more of that and more of that, and it just will kind of compound. So I really encourage you, decide, you know what, I'm going to be at those meetings, and if I absolutely can't be at those meetings, I'm going to watch the recording, because I will play her recordings. The first one will be longer, about an hour, and then they get shorter. I'm going to do the work. I'm going to try to, because we just learned about that, but I will do this. I will come to the meeting. I will watch the recording. I will do the work. I will write it down, because that's what's going to really make a change for you. And that's my heart for you, because I know, and we're preached to this all the time, Juice Plus Company, they want us to be our best selves, because they know that is what's going to draw more people to you than anything else, is when people see changes in you. So it really doesn't even matter where you are right now. You can say, no, Phil. It doesn't matter where you are. As you're making changes, people notice. And then they're like, what are you doing? Yeah, there's something different about you. What are you doing? That's going to be part of your story. That is your story. Okay. So I'm excited about that. So remember, next week, we'll be working on mindset, discipline, all that kind of stuff to set you up so you have some little activities to do. You're going to start looking out for those forms. You're going to either have them printed, figure out what you're going to do, but make a plan. Please don't just show up on February 8th and say, oh, what? Oh, we were going to do this. Oh, I don't have a notepad. Okay, you won't get as much out of it. You're going to be on the outside looking in. So we don't want that. Let's plug in, be intentional. Let's be in training. I'm going to use that. And the other cool thing about training, you never train for one day, and you don't just train twice a month. You wouldn't get any results. You have to it's consistency. It's doing it every day. So I'm excited for that too.
Is the link coming, you said, or do we have that already?
I'm going to post it. I can post it today in Team Ignite Facebook. We'll put it in there, and we can see how it goes. I'm in a group for her right now, and they have us watch the videos on our own, and then we get together and talk about it. But since this is already blocked in people's time, I think it's going to be more advantageous. So on February 8th, that meeting will be a little longer because the recording's longer. We'll work on it as we go, but that's what I'm thinking is going to be good for this group, instead of having everybody try to figure out what they're watching each week and then meeting up. And then the recordings will still be there. You know how if you go to the announcements tab, Jake always lists all of them under that team flyer where it says team Zoom meeting. It's got polka dots on it. So you can always look in there. And if you have people that you know that would love this, and we have so many people that work full time, they just can't be here, let them know. They can still be participating, just doing that on their own. But any other feedback? Are you guys excited like me? And there are lots of events. There is an event tonight for distributors with Carrie Daigle. Check on Facebook, Team Ignite. I posted all the flyers. Wanda, Olga, and I will be doing our event, Sharing Juice Plus. on Tuesday and Wednesday. The flyers, I posted those as well. We've got Solomon, the Olympic athlete, on Thursday. So all athletes, you know, that would be a great thing for them to be on the JPTV recording that day. Saturday is the St. Louis boot camp. It used to be one of the most popular boot camps, and you can register and watch that online on Saturday. That'd be all distributor training. They've got some of the top trainers. So lots and lots of opportunities. There's also a business event on Thursday night. So if you have somebody strictly looking at the business, and do know that I'm trying to go round up everybody who's been interested in the business and letting them know this is the last month. January 31st is the end of that business builder box. It's a $55 value. And they get complete samples, chewy samples, brochures, a book on building your team, all these things. So if they want that, they need to do their P+ by January 31st, which is really, I mean, it could be a husband and a wife going on the trio and they sign their mom up for the quad. Boom, they've already done P+. So it's not, you know, super doable. So know that. Any final words? Good. All right. Well, let's go out and be intentional. Let's be in training. You know, think about those things. Even if you pick just one or two things this week. Hey, how are your bingo boards going? I've almost got some bingos. I'm so excited. And think about it. You can just print off that 2 by 2 by 2 by 2 form right there. That's discipline right there. Every day to say, okay, I'm going to connect with these 2 people. I'm going to follow up with these 2 people. I'm going to do customer care with 2 people. That would be something awesome that you could do, and it's on your bingo form. So check it out. All righty. Any final words? Speak now or forever hold your peace.
Or at least until you get on Boxer.
Yeah. So I hope to see you at some of the events this week. You guys go make it an awesome week and just shine your light. People need our bright lights. So be that for somebody this week. All right. All right. See you later. Bye-bye.